It's Sunday, August 24th, 2025. Welcome to the show, and we have a summer surprise. Though I'm not totally shocked. I mean, I am surprised of how well it did, but this is the thing about K-pop Demon Hunters. When I spoke with, I'm just pulling up my feed here. When I spoke with the directors of K-pop Demon Hunters, Chris Appelhans and Maggie Kang, back in June after I had screened the movie through Netflix, Sony Pictures Animation Film, I knew and I said to them, I think this is going to be a huge film on social media. This is the kind of movie that, as long as social media is strong, this movie's going to do well. And they were hoping for the same thing. They were hoping for social media success and global success with people sharing the songs and specific scenes. And there were moments I knew would become GIFs and all of this. And now here we are as K-pop Demon Hunters here at the end of August with a late summer surprise with a 2-day, just Saturday, yesterday and today, sing-along screening event nationwide. Wins the weekend with at least $18 million. That is the number that the studios and the industry is going with right now. Netflix not officially reporting the number as of yet, but I think there are very interesting conversations happening right now at Netflix and at Sony Pictures Animation in the marketing teams going, all right, what do we do? Does Netflix break its streak of not reporting numbers, which they didn't even fully do for Glass Onion almost 3 years ago? Do we report box office numbers? Do we claim number one for the weekend or not? The headlines are all K-pop, but does Netflix really want to do that? And that is what's happening right now. Sam B. Russell, K-pop Demon Hunters, taking over the world. The kids love it. This is a movie that has benefited so much from the music, the characters, the scenes, and I had that feeling watching it. I go, this is going to work if it's huge on socials, if it's huge with young people and all over the world. And this is a great win for Sony Pictures Animation for a number of reasons. One of them being that so many of their films over the last 5-6 years went straight to streaming, especially through the pandemic. Movies like Vivo and Hotel Transylvania Transformania, which went to Prime Video, got a little theatrical run later on, but that went straight to Prime. Vivo went to Netflix. The Mitchells vs. the Machines went to Netflix. Several others. The last Spider-Verse was in theaters, but K-pop Demon Hunters was also straight to Netflix, but now gets this theatrical play. Sony Pictures Animation is a powerhouse studio, and they really wanted that Oscar win for Mitchells vs. the Machines. They really wanted that Oscar win for Spider-Verse 2 years ago, and now they are out for revenge. The battle for animated feature this award season, it's going to be K-pop Demon Hunters versus Zootopia 2. Yes, there are others in play. In Your Dreams, Arco, Sylvain Chomet as an animated film. Maybe Elio gets in. Maybe Neja 2 gets in. But when you break it all down, it's going to be K-pop versus Zootopia 2. It's going to be the people who love Disney and the older Academy voters versus the younger global audience. And right now I give the edge to K-pop Demon Hunters. A lot of comments coming in. Will they make a sequel? Yeah, I think they will, but it's going to take 3 to 4 years because animation takes so long. And remember, this movie's been growing and growing. So right away, the first week it was on Netflix, it wasn't the biggest movie ever. It took a little time. So I don't think there were sequel talks right away back in June. Now there certainly are. Really like K-pop Demon Hunter says Kelly is kind of awkward. Brandon Woodruff is here. Let's see. Mitchells vs. the Machines. We're talking about Spider-Verse. Brandon thinks Elio is definitely getting in. I don't know. I mean, the fact that the box office for Elio was only $73 million, even though it had an opening weekend of 21, totaled 73, that's not bad. I think the box office and the mixed-ish reviews don't help Elio, but if some of these other anime films, if Neja 2 doesn't get in, and Neja 2 didn't do well this weekend, if that doesn't get in, maybe Elio sneaks in. We'll have to see what happens. But wow, congratulations to Netflix, Sony Animation, and all the folks at K-pop Demon Hunters. I interviewed Maggie Kang and Chris Appelhans. If you want that conversation, it's at animationscoop.com as well as lcj.podbean.com. Got a clip here on YouTube as well from back in June, and now they are thrilled with this. they're going to the Oscars. They're nominated. It's a lock. And the song Golden is probably going to be nominated for original song as well. It's going to be a huge performance on the Oscar stage. Locks right now. We're so many months out from the middle of March and the end of January when the nominations come out. But there's a couple locks. One is Sinners, probably up for Best Picture. And 2 is K-Pop Demon Hunters, up for animated feature and up for original song. Locks. Lock them in now. It's happening for sure. And then I think Zootopia 2 is a lock for animated feature. That is your battle. Number 2 this weekend is Weapons. So right now, if you don't count what's happening with K-Pop Demon Hunters, you could say Weapons is number 1 for a third weekend. But really, K-Pop Demon Hunters is number 1. But Weapons added $15.6 million this weekend. It is at $115.9 million domestically. Needs to get to a little over 138 to get into Warner Brothers' top 5 of the year. I think it's going to be close. It may happen for Weapons, which is a movie that I wasn't sure if it was going to make as much money as it has, but the interest has really been there for sure. By the way, K-Pop Demon Hunters, when you break down the numbers from the industry estimates, 9.6 million yesterday, 8.4 million today. That's according to Deadline. That's where they're getting the 18 million. You may see 19 and 20 million as headlines as well, but right now we're going with 18 million. Apparently over 1,100 sold out showings around the country. It was playing in 1,700 theaters. AMC declined to show it, but Regal did, and many other chains and some independent theaters, and picked up on this, expanded it from just a couple showings per day to multiple screens to accommodate everyone for this sing-along edition, but it is the full movie. And boy, $18 million. This will also be very interesting, whether Netflix and Sony Animation will expand this or just keep it as 1 week. Remember, earlier this year, we had Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, or was it Revenge of the Sith? I forget. No, it was Revenge of the Sith, right? Because that was the 20th anniversary. Right? Yes, it was Revenge of the Sith, which was only out for a week with $25 million for that opening weekend. So we're close to that. That 18 million is close to that, but we did have another movie from earlier this year, a re-release that did $25 million in a weekend. For a movie that was 20 years old, here's a movie that's 2 months old, does 18 million for a potential just 1 weekend event. This, you know what this shows? It shows a lot of things. Number 1, the power of animation. Number 2, the power of social media. And number 3, the power of the theatrical experience. For so many to go see this. A lot of people probably saw this movie for a second or third time, or maybe even more, but maybe there were actually some people who were curious, who don't have Netflix, and were like, you know what, I'm going to go see this in theaters and see what all the excitement is about. It's the power of the theatrical experience to come together in the communal experience and share in this movie and this phenomenon. I mean, it's kind of getting to levels of Barbie. It really is. Or Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, or some of the other movies the last couple years, Wicked, that have had this kind of phenomenon status. We seem to be getting 1 or 2 of these movies a year. Top Gun Maverick, without question, in 2022. Barbie for sure, Oppenheimer for sure, Wicked for sure, and now this. And yes, this isn't going to make hundreds of millions of dollars like those other films, but to win a weekend, to give theaters $18 million more in August when they desperately needed it, and to show the power of animation, it's a huge win. It's a huge win for theaters. It's a huge win for theatrical experience, and of course the power of animation. It's one of the great mediums of storytelling, and it just goes to show you that once again. We got some more comments coming in. Paul Rudd deserves a supporting actor nod for Friendship, says Sam. I think Friendship, you could see some best comedy nominations for Friendship. Critics' Choice, I think Friendship gets on that best comedy list. The Naked Gun will also be on that best comedy list. I don't think Honey Don't will end up there. We'll talk about that in a second. Also really like Bad Guys 2, says Kelly. Deserves some awards attention. Yeah, Bad Guys 2 is interesting. The only thing I'd say to that is the first one did not get nominated, and I really thought it was at least going to get Critics' Choice. It did not. I like the second one more than the first one. It's a fun, good time, and we'll get to Bad Guys 2 money in a second. So maybe DreamWorks gets it in the equation, but I'm not sure the overall critical vibe for it is going to be as high as some of these other indie darlings and your 2 locks already for the end of the year. So Weapons number 2. Number 3 this weekend is Freakier Friday, which had a better hold than last weekend. Only dropped from 14.5 down to 9.2 million this weekend. It's at 70.5. I would love to see it make more money than Snow White. That would be great. It's got to get to 87.3 million. It could be close. The first Freaky Friday made 110 million back in 2003. I don't think we're going to get there, but this is also a win for theaters. This could have been a straight to Disney Plus movie. And here's the other thing. Back in 2003, there was really very little family film competition. Sort of the same-ish area now that we got a couple films on the way. So maybe it has small legs. Maybe it gets to 90, 95 million over the next couple weeks. That would be nice for Freakier Friday. A film that has a rough first half hour, finds its groove, and has some things to say and some fun scenes. So I enjoyed Freakier Friday. Once you get past the first section, and it is a little overstuffed, a little chaotic, but it's got a good spirit to it, and it's got some emotional moments. So I enjoyed Freakier Friday. Number 4 this weekend is the Fantastic Four. First Steps, 5.9 million. It's at 257.3. I would say we total out at about 270. Maybe it makes a run at 275. Number 5 this weekend is The Bad Guys 2, which added 5.1 million. Check this out. It's at 66.2 million. It's only off $200,000 from the first one at the same point, at the same 24-day mark. We started out 2 million behind the first one and its opening weekend, and I was a little surprised. I was a little underwhelmed. I think Universal and DreamWorks were as well. But now we are even. We're only off by $200,000. Here's the question. Can The Bad Guys 2 make another $30 million over the next 8 weeks? That is what happened with the first Bad Guys. Then it had a late fall re-release for a little bit, and it got to a little over 97 million. So does it make another $30 million over 8 weeks? We don't have a ton of family film competition. Grand Prix of Europe moved out of this coming weekend, August 29th, and is now November 7th, according to several websites. You have Light of the World, an animated film coming out September 5. I have seen it. I cannot share opinion. I am strictly embargoed on opinion for Light of the World for a little bit. I do have an interview with the directors coming out. Is that this week or next week? I got 4 or 5 interviews in the can. It's on the way. But, yes, I think it is for this Wednesday. But I cannot share opinion on Light of the World until a couple days before it comes out. But you've got that. That's a fully animated film. Then you've got Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie for the end of September, which is also DreamWorks. But I don't think that's going to make a ton of money. And I don't even think it's going to have quite the impact of Paw Patrol the movie or Paw Patrol the Mighty movie. So for a lot of families, you've got Bad Guys 2 for several more weeks. Does that mean 8 weeks? And does that mean another $30 million? And that is what Universal and DreamWorks are going to figure out over the next 8 weeks. Will it be kept in lots and lots of theaters? As kids go back to school, you do have Light of the World, a couple other smaller things, then Gabby's Dollhouse, and then some other family fare and animated things later on in fall, but not a lot until the holidays. It's a really interesting time for animation. Some at-home releases. The Twits is on Netflix. That's from Roald Dahl. That's in October, and some November films and some other things. But a really interesting time for animation for sure. We will see what happens. Number 6 this weekend is Nobody 2, which dropped big. I mean, it didn't open huge, but down to 3.7 million. It's only made 16.6. The first one did 27 and a half. So we're going to get past 20, I think, but I don't think Nobody 2, unless it has really small drops over the next few weeks, I don't think Nobody 2 is going to match the first one. Not a good film. Number 7 this weekend is Superman, 3.4 million. It's at 347 million, one of the biggest films ever in the top 10 all-time domestically for Warner Brothers. Kelly thought Freakier Friday got sequel fatigue. Well, I think there's sequel fatigue and reboot fatigue for other things. The thing I think about Freakier Friday is it's very loyal to the first one. And I'm glad I watched the first one just a few nights before seeing the sequel. It's not just a few references here and there and little nods. It is story beats and mirroring it and changing it up just enough, but very loyal to the first one. It almost reminds me of Mary Poppins Returns, how that very much mirrored the first one. This one doesn't quite do that, but a lot of it, beat for beat, is not just repetitive, but loyal to what the first film says and does. I can't even give a hint about what I thought of Light of the World. I can't. I can tell you that I have an interview with the directors coming out on Wednesday, which I am able to share on Wednesday, and that will have a lot of in-depth analysis and conversation, a great conversation with the directors of Light of the World. But as far as review goes, nothing. I can't share anything until a couple days before it comes out. Are we going to get Freakier Friday 3, says Christian Kozlowski. I'm going to say no, because it's not making quite as much money as I thought it was gonna. It's doing all right, for sure, but not amazing numbers. And I think that you'd have to come up with another storyline and make it even crazier, maybe. And I think it accomplishes what it needs to do. So I don't think we're going to see a Freakier Friday 3. Something I've been curious about for a while. Why do you see sequels to films you don't like, says Robbie. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the first Freaky Friday, but I wanted to go see this. I am for the Lindsay Lohan assance, the her returning to the theaters and returning to movies. I like the Christmas movie. The Irish movie wasn't great, but I'm happy for her. Parent Trap is on my top 10 list of all-time favorite movies. As far as seeing sequels to original films I don't like, hey, maybe you're surprised. Like Bad Guys 2. I thought the first one was all right. I like this one even more, for sure. It's more fun. I think the first one was very stuck in the fact that it needed to establish everything and was a little too serious in spots, and this one it lets loose. So you're all for the pleasant surprise, right? I love pleasant surprises like that. Old Dogs is better than Wild Hogs. That's an interesting comparison. The single parent by choice thing was interesting, Kelly, as a way to start off the movie. Maybe a third movie would explain that more. We'll have to see. All right, I want to get to more box office. We've been talking a lot about K-pop. I want to mention Penn and Teller as well, who I saw the other night. Number 8 this weekend. Honey Don't only did 3 million, and Drive Away Dolls opened to 2.4 million, totaled 5 million. I hated Drive Away Dolls. I did not see Honey Don't. I don't plan on seeing Honey Don't. 3 million is next to nothing. But some movies made less than that we'll get to in a second. Number 9 is The Naked Gun, which also made 3 million. It's at 47.6. It's going to get to 50 million for Paramount, which they will take as a win. And if it gets to over 51 million, it'll be more than 3 times its opening weekend. So they will take that as a win. And number 10 is Jurassic World Rebirth, which added 2.1 million. It's at 335.6. We're still far away from the 376 of the last one domestically. Worldwide, I think we're at 844. I saw that number this morning. The last one did $1 billion, so we're only off about 150 million. That gap is closing. Robbie says Honey Don't is awful. Christian Kozlowski, Honey Don't go to the theaters to see Honey Don't. There you go. I did see 2 movies, one in the theaters, one at home, that also opened this weekend. The film at home I watched last week, Eden, Ron Howard's new movie. Yikes. Talk about overacting. Ana de Armas gives the most overacted performance of the year. She's supposed to be playing this character who kind of is that, but still. Her, Jude Law, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruhl, Sydney Sweeney, they all overact in this thing. It's really dull. It's really tedious. It's over 2 hours, and there just isn't much there. I'm really surprised Ron Howard decided to make this movie, and it only made $1 million this weekend. And a film that made 1.9 million is Relay, which I saw in the theaters a couple weeks ago at an early screening. This is Riz Ahmed and Lily James. It is a suspense thriller. Sam Worthington is in it as well. That I was with for most of the way. Enough. I would have gone B- on it until we get to about the final 20 minutes, and then it goes completely off the rails, gets very messy, very unpleasant, ridiculous, and so my grade went down to a C. So I was with it. It has some inner reflection subplot stuff that I thought could have been taken out. The movie could have been tighter. But wow, that last section is just not good. And David Mackenzie, who directed Hell or High Water, a film I thought was okay, but I was not crazy about Hell or High Water. When it started getting awards buzz and Best Picture nomination and all that, I was like, wow, this must have been a weak year, because I thought Hell or High Water was only okay. Jeff Bridges, the writing, Taylor Sheridan, the editing, but they all got nominated for Oscars. But I was like, wow, this is just an average-ish, a little better than average cat and mouse game movie. But it really got people that year. He directed this, and David Mackenzie, and doesn't have as much control over what happens in this cat and mouse game of Relay as even he did with Hell or High Water. So I give it a C. I didn't love it. Wanted to like it. Like I said, would have gone B minus if it played out how the momentum was through most of the way, but that last section is not good. Uh, is Americana any good? I didn't see Americana, but if you love Paul Walter Hauser, Sam B. Russell, watch The Luckiest Man in America, the Pressure Luck movie he did earlier this year. Walton Goggins plays Peter Tamarkin, and Paul Walter Hauser plays the Michael Larson, the iconic contestant of Pressure Luck, and it is a good time, and Paul's great in it. So check out The Luckiest Man in America. So we did those movies. Don't Have the Money on Primitive War. Neja 2 in its re-release this weekend for the English language version with Michelle Yeoh only did 1.6 million. I think K-Pop Demon Hunters stole a lot of its thunder in terms of animation re-releases of sorts and being in the theaters this weekend. K-Pop doing over 10 times what Neja 2 did this weekend. Its total domestically, when you look at earlier this year, and this is 22.4 million. But A24, when they heard about this whole K-pop thing, had to be a little disappointed. And now clearly with what's happened, just 1.6 million, not a lot. For a movie that's much longer than K-pop Demon Hunters, it's about 2 hours and 25 minutes long compared to the 95 minutes of K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm just looking over what's here. I want to mention indie film Splitsville did 106,000 this weekend in 5 theaters. And together, is now the 5th biggest neon movie of all time. It passes Best Picture winner Honora, which did 20.5 million. Together is now at 20.8 million, the 5th biggest neon film of all time. I saw Penn and Teller the other night in New York City. It was a fun time. Got to sit in Johnny Carson's chair at his desk in the guest chair at the Paley Center for Media. Saw the Everybody Loves Raymond exhibit. Went by MoMA, did some other things. It was a fun trip to New York City. A few times a year, get to New York City for some things. I want to mention this week, as I said, Light of the World interview coming Wednesday. Tomorrow, my conversation with the creators of Shape Island, the Apple TV Plus stop-motion animated series. Season 2 premieres Friday. Check out my conversation with the creators tomorrow at animationscoop.com and lcj.podbean.com. I've got a couple other LCJ Q&As in the can that will be out next week. For Weather Hunters and Dr. Seuss animated shows. Got some other things in the works and a cool TV thing I'll tell you about in September. As far as movies for this week, like I said, Grand Prix of Europe no longer coming out in theaters. We do have Caught Stealing, which had some paid previews last night in select theaters around the country. That is Darren Aronofsky's new film with Austin Butler. That does not look good. Another film that also doesn't look good is The Roses with Olivia Colman and Benedict Cumberbatch. This is Searchlight's first theatrical release since A Complete Unknown last Christmas. We'll see how The Roses does. Also, The Toxic Avenger with Peter Dinklage, unrated, and that is coming out in theaters this week, along with the re-release of Jaws for its 50th anniversary. Remember, it was in theaters just 3 summers ago, 2022. Also was on NBC and the CW earlier this summer. So how many people will actually go to Jaws in theaters if you already saw it on TV earlier this summer? Indie film called A Little Prayer that I actually saw 2 years ago at a film festival, Film Columbia. This is with David Strathairn and Jane Levy. I didn't love the film. It's kind of quiet. It doesn't have a lot to do or say. It's not that emotionally impactful, but A Little Prayer, finally an official theatrical release for it, nearly 2 years after I saw it, comes out in theaters and select theaters this Friday. Prince, Sign of the Times is coming to IMAX. And then The Thursday Murder Club is in select theaters right now. It is on Netflix this Thursday. I'm not a huge fan of this movie. I wanted it to be fun. It never gets there. There are way too many characters, way too much to keep track of, and nothing very surprising in the end. And the story is messy in spots. Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, and Ben Kingsley and several other cast members pop in. Richard E. Grant is in it. And I just, it's not fun. It's not funny. It's not what it should be. If they wanted it to be a comparison or adjacent to Knives Out, they cannot achieve that. So I'm disappointed with The Thursday Murder Club, but it is on Netflix this Thursday. Let's see. Coens have made some of the best films of the past 40 years, says Pete Crooks. Raising Arizona is one of my favorites from them. Most anticipated September release, says Christian Kozlowski. Ooh, I hope One Battle After Another's good, but I don't know. Smashing Machine, I'm really looking forward to. That's the beginning of October. What else is September? Oh, of course, Downton Abbey, the grand finale. Yes, that's up there because I loved A New Era, one of the best movies of 2022. Hopefully, this is a good finale. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, opens in just a few weeks. Johnny Carson, one of the best of all time, without question. Penn and Teller Fool Us is a great program, says Christian. And you know what? The other night they performed a lot of the tricks that were on Fool Us. So I knew a lot of what was coming, which was a little disappointing, but it was fun to see some of the tricks in person. And Tax Avenger's been on the shelf for years, one battle. Hopefully it's going to be good. I loved Licorice Pizza from Paul Thomas Anderson and Phantom Thread. How about Daniel Day-Lewis returning in Anemone? That's going to be interesting. And Austin Butler's a rising star. Yeah, but Caught Stealing does not look good. Downton Abbey should be rewarded at the Oscars. I don't know if it's going to happen, but Focus Features certainly wants it to make more money than the last one. Remember, the first one did 96 million, the second did 44. They want much more money out of this one. Wow, this has been one of the longest LCJ Lives we've done in quite some time, but we're going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back next Sunday with the box office results, and maybe K-Pop Demon Hunters gets a theatrical extension. We'll have to see. For more, go to lcj.podbean.com, animationscoop.com, lights-camera-jackson.com. Listen to the 250th episode of the Too Fast, Two Films podcast with me, Mike Sargent, at toofast2films.com. It's a fun episode. We reviewed Nobody 2, and we look back on the first two movies we ever reviewed on the podcast, which were Dolittle and Bad Boys for Life. And we talk about the lasting impact of both of those. As always, go to X at LCJ Reviews, Instagram at LightsCamJackson, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're live every Sunday at noon Eastern. We will be back next Sunday to take a look at the box office, all these new movies and the older movies and the re-releases and everything. And we will end the month of August and end the summer movie season. And we'll preview how The Conjuring Last Rites will do in the theaters, and much more coming up for September. Thank you so much for being here for LCJ Live. Hey, Drew Taylor and Sam with a quick last thought. Bad Boys versus Bad Guys. That would be something. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching today's episode of LCJ Live. Have a good Sunday. Have a good week. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.